Today, I'm not the coach. I'm just chief. I'm a student just like you all. And what I want to do is I just want to take you all on a journey really quickly, give you our 5 points, give you and pull you into the 5G network, and then I'll let you all go. And so we all know that if you've ever played basketball, if you're a fan of basketball, how many fouls do you get before you foul out? Not the pros, but in college. How many do you get? 5, right? So here's what I want to do really quickly. Who are you? Official computer. Okay, representing the bottom. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. Who are you, sir? Who are you? Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Okay. Who are you, sir?
Jalen Greer, freshman business management major from Atlanta, Georgia.
I love it. I love it. Who are you, sir? Thank you for your service. Who are you?
Devin Pinkston, freshman political science major from Thompson, Georgia.
My brother. My brother. Appreciate that. So we talk about the 5 fouls that we often commit. Let me take you to the first one. And the first foul we commit is that we don't know who we are. We absolutely do not know who we are. It was my sophomore year, and I had the opportunity to get dressed like most of us do every now and then. And of course, whenever you get dressed in a suit, especially when we were in school, you get dressed in a suit, everybody asks, hey man, is it laundry time? But it would just so happens that I was going to the Career Center to meet with Benjamin McLaurin. May he rest in peace. And Benjamin McLaurin said, hey man, hey chief, how you doing? Firm handshake. And he says, how you doing? I said, great, Mr. McLaurin. I said, I appreciate the opportunity that you've given me to sit down and talk to you. He says, well, listen, what do you want to do? I said, well, basically, I want to embark on the Morehouse experience, and basically, I want to make sure I'm the best in my field, and basically, I just want to make sure that I know what I'm doing when I'm a grown up, and basically. And when I got through, you know what he said? Basically. And the thing was, I thought I knew who I was, defined by my major. I thought who I was because I knew what my major was. I thought I knew who I was because I thought I knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. I thought that is who I was. But I want to challenge you all. At the first of every year, I sit in my kitchen and I write down at least 100 qualities, good, bad, or indifferent. And with those 100 good, bad, and indifferent qualities, I pick out the ones that are most unattractive. And so I challenge you all to, the next time somebody asks you who you are, I want you to write down the most unattractive qualities that you have, the ones that you can possibly change, but I really want you all to be in a place where you write down the ones that are the most unattractive. Why? Because that tells me who you are. It's not your major. And as we go through this particular matrix, or as we matriculate, some of us have never heard that word till we came to Morehouse. I know I didn't. We find ourselves in a place where, first sister, you introduce yourself to. You give you your name, where you're from, and what your major is, but that's not who you are. And I tell you, you get 5 fouls in any given basketball game. Let me take you back to my freshman year. It's the Monday before Thanksgiving, and everybody is happy because we're getting ready to go home for Christmas. We're getting ready to go home for Thanksgiving. And so I lived in the best dorm on campus at the time. Still the best dorm in my humble opinion. Huber Hall. I figured y'all would feel me. Now we can talk a little bit. But here's what happened. It was a Monday before Thanksgiving, and my man Leon Anderson III, who was from Jackson, Mississippi, said, hey, man, what's up? I said, what's up? He says, what's going on? He said, you ready to go home? I said, man, I can't wait to go home. Can't wait to eat some of my mom's cooking. Can't wait to see my grandparents, get to see my old teammates, everybody at home. I can't wait. I can't wait. Of course, I couldn't wait to see my girl that all of us thought we were going to be with forever once we went to school and came back. Y'all remember that? I ain't talking to nobody here. And so Leon said, well, look, man, I can't wait to go home, man. Look, man, hey, look, I'm about to go to the package store, man. Why don't you go with me? I said, well, man, hold on 1 second. Let me go upstairs and see if the homies want something. Now, we were freshmen, and I don't care where you go in the continental U.S., we all know that the drinking age is, the legal drinking age is 21. And so I said, no problem. So I'll go up to Hubert 205 where Chris Early and Raj and Greg and Craig were playing spades. And so they're sitting around, whatever. So we're listening to the new music that's coming out. So about 30 minutes go by. So after 30 minutes, I come back downstairs, and everybody's on the first floor of Hubert. I look at my next door neighbor, Rob, and I said, Rob, what's going on? We had a floor meeting, y'all didn't tell me. He says, nah, man, Leon just got shot and killed a minute ago. "30 minutes. 30 minutes that I was not my brother's keeper. 30 minutes. It's my understanding that when Leon went to the store, there was a gentleman that had just done some crime earlier down, you all don't call it Ashby Street anymore. I think it's Joseph P. Lowry now. But what was funny is that this gentleman comes up, and Leon had a super baby face. And it's my understanding probably Leon said, hey, man, can you cop this liquor for me? So as the gas attendant tells the story, the gentleman never even addressed him. Pulls out a .357 Magnum and points it at Leon. And so as Leon gave chase, he runs onto what was then Ashby Street. Boom. First shot hits him in his leg. Boom. Second shot hits him in his back, comes straight through his chest. As he ran out into the street, just so happens he was hit by a car to add insult to injury. So when they found Leon, his torso was here, and his legs were somewhere over here. 30 minutes. And I was not my brother's keeper. Do I tell you that story to get hood cred? Absolutely not. Do I tell you that story to scare you? Absolutely not. But I do tell you the story because I want you to understand that the second of the 5 fouls that we commit is that, number 2, we just don't know what we value. And although I value life before I lost Leon, just with that 30 minutes, as you go on this journey, you got to understand what you value. So the last thing I want to see is Morehouse students or men of the house be majoring in things that absolutely have nothing to do with your passion. Only because mom and dad says something to you. And culturally, let me know if you understand. Some people it's doctor, lawyer, engineer. Am I talking the same language to somebody? And what I want you to understand is as you get through this particular matrix of Morehouse, I want you to understand that you have to know what you value. Because if you don't know what you value, you'll be 2 things. You'll be unhappily married and unhappily employed. If you know what you value. When I was 6 years old, I had an opportunity to take swimming lessons at the YMCA. And I could not swim at the time, but I had no problem putting my head underwater. And so it just so happens that day Dad, you probably don't know this. This day I actually forgot as a son would do, I forgot my swimming trunks at the house. And so my dad was like Cam Newton. He comes through with the swimsuit. And so I'm excited. So, okay, this is the day I'm going to be an Olympic swimmer. It's no doubt. And so as I get there, we're getting ready to roll. So swim instructor says, all right, everybody in the water, get your kick paddle. So I come across, boom. We going across the pool. Water's hitting the ceiling. I knew I'm on my way to being an Olympic swimmer today, no doubt. And so by some strange circumstance, I get knocked off my kick paddle. And at the time, I was about 3'3". I was in 5 feet of water. So I started sinking to the bottom of the pool. So once I hit the bottom, I'm like, so I look to my right, it's the deep end. I ain't going that way. Look to the left, it's the shallow end. I'm like, how we gonna do this? So the only thing I could think of was to raise my hand. And I don't know if you all remember in cartoons, whenever you see a cartoon character, they go underwater, or you remember, all you see was a 5, 4, 3, 2, At 0, it's a wrap. But before I could take my last breath, and I'm doing this at the bottom of the pool, somebody pulls me out the water. Pull me out, takes me to the side. I threw up everything I had for lunch that day. But understand, there is a time and place where all of us have been drowning. Some of y'all might be drowning now. Some of y'all may be drowning right now. And the third foul that we commit most frequently is that we aren't man enough. We aren't man enough to ask for help. And as I work with young men, not necessarily in the Mid-Atlantic region, as I work with young men all across the country, they teach you everything about manhood. Well, manhood is, if you're a man, you're accountable. If you're a man, you walk a certain way. If you're a man, you talk a certain way. If you're a man, then there's certain things that you do. But the thing that they don't do is that they tell you that it's okay to ask for help. I promise you, without my crew, without Terrence White, who was a junior when I was a sophomore, to help me through that particular piece, to be a peer mentor of mine, I would have never made it. Never would have made it. Dr. Brian Marks, he's another person, for those psych majors or folks that know him, another person that I looked at as a mentor, somebody that helped me get through, because I wasn't ashamed to ask for help. And here's the thing. When I'm coaching, one of the things that most people, my players understand is that during the first half, if you get 2 fouls, I take you out the game. And the first 2 fouls were, you don't know who we are. You don't know who you are. Second foul is, you don't know what you value. And personally, if you've already committed those 2 fouls, then we need to have a talk. Because if you don't know the first 2, if you've committed the first 2 fouls, the third one is right behind it. And as we talk about this incubator being Morehouse, being the manufacturer, being the warehouse for the weapons of mass destruction, which is an educated black man, we have to be in a place where we understand it's okay to ask for help. I don't know what you're drowning in, but I do care what you're drowning in. My son is 16 now. He's 16 now. Hopefully, class, we're going to speak it into existence. Morehouse class of 2024. But one thing I want you all to understand is this. One day, it's a rule in my house. It is an absolute rule in my house. I don't care what you do or how you do it. Do not leave your room with the bed unmade. Okay? So one day, my son, he got up on time, but just like y'all, he's on his phone. For some reason, he leaves the house, and his room looks terrible, and his bed is unmade. And so I said, okay, no problem, son, I got you. So once he leaves, you know what I did? I went and tossed his room. Took the mattress off, opened the drawers, completely violated his room. Completely violated his room. So I'm sure when he came home, he probably had some choice words for me. My son is pretty quiet, and he's never disrespected me personally yet. But I just knew this day he would. So I wrote him a letter. I said, son, the way you left your room was absolutely deplorable. This is unacceptable behavior. When you get home, text me. Welcome to manhood. I love you, Dad. So, of course, I didn't get a text. Didn't get a call. Didn't even get a dad. What did you do to my room? When I came home, my son not only cleaned his room, he absolutely rearranged it and made more space in his room. And the only reason that he was able to do that because he understood the 5 fouls. The 4th foul is that we allow the thoughts and opinions of others to affect what we do. And sometimes, I don't know what is happening with our men these days. I don't know what happens. Sometimes it takes somebody to insult you for you to react. It takes somebody to rearrange you or wake you up before you decide you want to get on fire. It takes you that point before you actually maybe flunk out of a class or right before you sign that withdrawal slip that you decide you want to get motivated about school. But understand, you can't allow the thoughts and opinions of others to affect what you do. Look at Brother Kaepernick. He's a personal hero of mine. I'm sure he's yours. He does not allow the thoughts and opinions of others to affect what he does. And not only does he put himself in a place where he understands, number one, who he is and what he values, he's not afraid to ask for help. The help that he needs comes from us. See, a lot of people talk about this whole Nike thing, and I'm like, okay, we can debate back and forth about Nike. You know, white people saying they ain't gonna buy Nikes no more. Y'all see them putting tape over their Nikes? I'm like, okay, good luck with that. They still gonna buy them. But what I want y'all to understand is this. Look at people in this, as you go through this cycle, look at the people who are exemplifying those characteristics of men who are resilient, men of standard, men of value, men of belief, who are focused on not fouling out at all. Which brings me to the fifth one. Brings me to the fifth file. Fifth file is that we fail and give up versus fail and give more. My grandfather, Lawrence Jacob Sr., was born on September 11th, 1911. Okay, do I have any math majors in here? Math majors? Okay. September 11th, 1911. He made his transition on May 11th, 2011. He was born on September 11th, 1911. He made his transition on May 11th, 2011. My grandfather was a farmer in the Deep South. He's from Huntsville. Well, he grew up in Huntsville, Alabama. And so as I got older, I understood the value in having my grandparents around. I asked my grandfather, I said, well, how long does it take for a crop to come to harvest? He says about 90 to 120 days. About 90 to 120 days. Did y'all hear what I said? I said he was born on September 11th, 1911. He passed away on May 11th, 2011. Math majors. How many days is that before his 100th birthday? $120 days, right? And so some people might think that was sad. Like, well, man, you lost your grandfather before he turned 100. I said, absolutely not. I had my grandfather for 99. We had my grandfather for 99 years. And my grandfather was one of the strongest people I'd ever seen who had never, ever been in a weight room. Ever. But my grandfather understood, number one, he understood who he was. He understood who he valued. He understood what he valued. Number three, he wasn't afraid to ask for help. My grandmother, and I won't want to disrespect her, she was a farmer also. He didn't allow the thoughts and opinions of others to affect what he did. And so every day, without probably hardly an alarm clock, without a manager, he made it to work. He made it to the field every single day. Every single day. There was nobody telling him what to do. He understood that he had 3 mouths to feed. But beyond the 3 mouths to feed, he understood he had an entire nation to feed. And unbeknownst to you all, he may have fed some of your ancestors. But when we talk about being committed, we talk about manna, we talk about matriculation, I want you all to understand that 120 days to the harvest, that's major. And a lot of people think it's sad just because I lost my grandfather. I said, no. I understand now that the pressure's on me. Understand, fellas, that your legacy that you're living out is a relay race. It's not a marathon. It's not a sprint. It's a relay race. So it's your turn. When it's time for my track guys, stick. Let's get it. And it ain't no running once you get it. We're already running when it's in place. Understand that your legacy is a relay race and that your presence means the world to someone. My grandfather died a millionaire. And at one point, we realized he only made about $3,000 in a year. That was the most he ever made, was $3,000 in a year. And most people are like, well, man, how did he die a millionaire? Hear what I'm saying. He died a millionaire not just because of what he was able to do with the money that he made. He was able to die a millionaire only because all 3 of his children went to and graduated from college. All 7 of his grandchildren, including me, graduated from college. Now 13 or 14 of his great-grandchildren have either started college or college will be an option for them. And so when we talk about taking personal files and turning to personal power, I want y'all to get into the 5G network. It's very, very simple. 5G network, all right? Number one, understand what your gift is. Understand what your gift is. If you understand what your gift is, you will set your goals accordingly. Your gift determines your goals. Your goals determine your grind. Now, mind you, when I got here, when I finished my fall semester of my freshman year, I got a 2.4 GPA. And my father said, excuse me, sir, does this belong to you? I said, yes, sir, it does. Now, mind you, I've been an honor roll student all my time in high school. But to come to Morehouse and get chopped down to size to get a 2.4. So I had to make the adjustment. I switched roommates because my roommate actually failed out my fall semester. I had to make sure I was going to bed on time. And I said, let me choose the roommate that I need to choose. I ended up choosing a roommate who was from Florida that was a bio major. Why? Because guess what? He knew exactly, every morning I knew he's going to have at 8 o'clock. No doubt. Come hell or high water. So I made the necessary adjustments. We talked about legacy. We talked about drowning. We talked about the 5 files. Some of you are not in place where you're not making the adjustments right now. You've had about a month to get used to being away from home. And I'm telling y'all, if you don't make the adjustment now, you'll be on the outside looking in. And they tell you, look to the right, look to the left. One of these brothers won't be here. I'm saying look to the left and look to the right. Say, bruh, I'm not going to let you fall. Because when I talk about Leon, I always wonder what would have happened had I gone with him. I always wonder, had I just told him, hey, man, wait till I get back before you go anywhere. I always wonder, had I gone, it might have been me instead of Leon. He might be standing here telling you the story. When we talk about the 5G network, we talk about your gifts, your goals, your grind. Once you grind, you will be able to measure the growth. Quick poll. Think about the person you were when you were a freshman in high school. Just think for 1 second. Sad state of affairs, isn't it? But you've chosen the right place to become the man that God called you to be. Because when you come back to homecoming, this will always feel like home because you will laugh at the person that you used to be. And if you don't feel some type of way after you graduate, or when you look back at your freshman year, then maybe you should stay a couple more years. We talk about a 5G network, gifts, goals, grind, growth. The last thing is graduate. And I'm not talking about just graduate when you walk across the stage. Because there are a lot of you all that think that just because you graduate from Morehouse that you automatically get the job. And some of you all think just because you graduate from Morehouse that people are just going to look at you in a different way. And some of you all think just because I graduated from Morehouse, the deal is sealed. But I hope you learn during this process. When you hop into the 5G network, I hope that you learn something. Understand this. No matter where you go, what you do, or what you major in, I do not want you to be in a place where you're credentialed but not qualified. There's a difference between education and training. Training means do it this way, do it this way, do it this way. Education means this is one way, you do with it what you will. So don't be in a place where you graduate and you're so confident that just because you went to Morehouse, that you're automatically going to be handed anything. And I tell you what, I'm very proud of my alma mater, and I put a Morehouse degree up against anybody, hands down. Because a lot of people are like, oh, you went to Morehouse, that's the black Harvard. I was like, no, Harvard is the white Morehouse. We talk about standards. When we talk about standards, understand I don't ever want you to be in the marketplace and be credentialed but not qualified. It's the worst thing you could ever do. It's the worst thing you could ever do. Shout out to the football team. Y'all are 5-0. Give it up. Hey, Dr. Shipman, like, it probably took us 5 years before we won 5 games. But shout out to y'all. I'm joking. Shout out to y'all. However, fellas, I want y'all to understand something. We talk about those personal files. Number 1, we don't know who we are. Number 2, we don't understand what we value. Number 3, we refuse to ask for help. Number 4, we allow the thoughts and opinions of others to affect what we do. Number 5, we fail and give up versus fail and give more. You will be tested. And let me be the first to let you know that no matter how technologically advanced our world is, there is no app that will keep challenges from coming your way. Let me just, I don't care how, let me just break it down for me. I don't care if you're from the west side. I don't care if you're from up top. I don't care if you're from the dirty south. I don't care where you're from. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care what your SAT score was. I don't even care what your GPA is right now. I promise you, sure as the sun rises and sets, as you go through this particular process, you will face one of three challenges: academic, personal, or financial. I experienced two. Right before I graduated my senior year, my mother, who was diagnosed with lupus when I was 2 years old, had a flare-up. And it just so happens that it was pretty bad. We hadn't seen anything like it. Well, I hadn't seen anything like it before. And so my sister calls me. She's giving me the bad news. Like, hey, mom's really sick, whatever. I say, okay, wiping the tears. So I say to my girlfriend, who's my wife now, I say, what are you doing this weekend? She says, nothing. I say, we're going to Toledo. Make the trip up, check on Mom Dukes. She pulls through it slowly but surely. But it's one of those things where I tell you about the 2.4, the infamous 2.4. And I tell you about my mom being sick during my senior year. Understand that when I look at when she got sick, I looked at that as a curse. But ultimately, I turned down several jobs elsewhere that were far away from home to go home and take care of my mom. Some people would say, man, that's really tragic. I say, absolutely not, because I probably would have gotten into a profession that I absolutely hated. But by virtue of my mother getting sick, once again, her being an angel, she led me to a profession that I've never, ever, ever, ever regretted. I poured into so many young people's lives. I would never, ever regret it. Where did I get my training? Right here. So be open to those experiences and understand that everything that happens to you actually happens for you. So when we talk about my mom getting sick, I go back to school and finish out with a sense of urgency, of course. But it led me to the thing that I absolutely love to do. It led me to the thing that I absolutely love to do. And if I had to lay down and close my eyes today, I have no regrets. After having been given the nod from my varsity coach my senior year that I would almost be on the team, and for him to cut me at the last cut and tell me I'm not good enough, I realized that from the sidelines, I made much more of an impression than I ever would being on the court. So, fellas, if you don't understand anything else, if you don't remember anything else that I said today, understand that those personal fouls, you're going to commit them. Somebody here is going to commit them. Some of y'all are going to foul out. Some of y'all are going to foul out. But tomorrow, God willing, you get another chance. You get another chance. You get one more chance. I'll say this and I'll take my seat. My grandfather, George Wright Sr., served honorably in the military. And so when I was younger, we had the opportunity to have family dinner every Sunday. It was me, my dad, my sister, my aunt, my uncle, Georgette, Susan, and Robin, and my grandmother and grandfather. We had family dinner every single week without fail. And so my grandfather smoked. It was a habit he picked up when he was in the Army. And so we would say, Granddad, we don't want you smoking. What are you doing? And so one day, we decided we wanted to hide his cigarettes. So we flushed him down the toilet. So trust me, he's mad. Man, get these devilish kids out of my house. They messing with my cigarettes. So he goes out to his truck, not knowing that we didn't even realize he had a spare pack in his glove compartment. So he's sitting out there watching the sunset. So here I am at 3 years old. I come up to him and I say, Granddaddy. He said, what? I said, you're going to die. Takes one more puff of the cigarette, puts it out, never smoked again. Lived to be 92. Fellas, understand, no matter who you talk to, where you talk to, understand that your voice has value. The things that you say every day. Words create walls, but they also create worlds. So be careful about the words that you speak, because you never know what impact or impression it's going to have on anyone. Brothers, I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all. Anybody here from Huber Hall? I definitely want to get a picture. Well, I will get a picture of all y'all. But Huber Hall, 117? 117? No? 117? First floor? All right, either way. Either way, fellas, I thank you all for the opportunity. It's been an honor and pleasure to join Beyond Measure. Y'all take it easy. What's up, J-Mac?
Appreciate you.
Brothers, see you here.
Is there left or right?
Don't leave. We're not scanning before you join hands and sing the hymn. In brotherhood.
Dr. Rice has spoken.
Join hands. Yeah. Dear old Morehouse,
Dear old Morehouse, we have pledged our lives to thee, and forever, yea, forever, give ourselves in loyalty. True forever, true forever, to O Morehouse may we be. So to bind each son the other in ties more brotherly. Holy Spirit, Holy Spirit, make us steadfast, honest, true, to O Morehouse